All right, goofing around a little bit this morning. I've decided a couple things here. I'm having kind of the opposite of gas, I think, is what's going on with me. I've been trying to get to a point where I can sell off all the stuff that I don't regularly use, or could have an acceptable, maybe alternative with a different amount of gear. I don't know, is there a word for that, where I don't want to get rid of some of my stuff? Because I might want to use it for this or that. But one of the things that I've been debating on is I have an Iridium as well as the Nano Cortex. But now I have a good means to record my amps direct with the 2 notes torpedo captor. And I have decided that that's my preferable way. However, I don't like, well, I shouldn't say I don't like it. It's fine, but it doesn't really impart any character to the signal when I'm using the speaker sim that comes out of it. So what you're hearing here is I'm coming in, so fuzz, Mustang, volume pedal, amp. Then I'm going through the load box, the reactive load box, into channel 1 on my SSL6, and then I'm sending that signal out the Q send into the Nano Cortex. Now the Nano Cortex, I'm only using an IR, the noise reduction, and part of my excuse for bringing the Nano Cortex back, aside from the IRs, which I do really like the IRs, and I'm using that the 8x10 again. That one just works well with this amp. Has a nice round, because I'm going for a mellow tone. Even when I add in the fuzz, I like kind of a rounder sound. But I can also, I like the pitch shifting on this thing, or the pitch transposition, so I can do down-tuned sounding stuff to get that different tonality. I mean, it's just really nice sounding. And I don't have, even with the intelligent harmony machine from EHX does not do this. This is a very nice pitch transposition. I mean, it's just real natural sounding. Might have to fix that level a little bit, but so the Nano Cortex is back, and then into the trio, obviously splitting off the trio. Let's get over to whatever's in there. But as you've heard, and then into the platform, and then down to, let me think here, what am I doing here? Down into the Zoya. So that leads me to the other change I've got here this morning. I brought the Galaxy back because I really love the Galaxy. This is, of all the pedals or delay type pedals I have, including analog delay, I think this one has the best stereo implementation, and it's got the most kind of vibe you're going to get out of a digital delay. And part of my reason for bringing this back is I'm finding that I really like doing like sound on sound loops with this, even though I've got the patch on the Zoya. This thing does a lot of good stuff. And I'm finding that of all the different echo types, I'm really liking the space echo on this, and obviously the Galaxy is a space echo, so maybe I'm a space echo guy. But what I'm going to do here, and then of course these 4 are in the effects loop of the HX effects. And one other small change that I'm going to do here, that I did here, is I put the trem at the end of the signal chain, so it's after the particle verb. I want to hear how that sounds, to see if I can get some kind of nice movement after everything's going on here. Make sure it's not sounding too crazy. So that's what I'm messing with here. So let's see what we get. Oh, the other thing I should say I did is I was experimenting with hitting my interface with no preamp coloration. I wasn't using the preamps or at least I had the preamps on minimum on my interface, and then I was making up for it in OBS with my plugins, which I'm still using the Sonable Pure set. But there was too much disparity when I'm monitoring between listening to the DAW and listening to my mini console here. So I brought the output of the 88M back up and then compensated everything back in my DAW. Now, when it comes to recording into a DAW, I think one of the big tests is how much you have to use that limiting at the end to get the LUFS you want, or at least in my situation, that's the test. If you're finding that you have to use a lot of limiting at the end to get your signal where you want it, chances are it needs to be fixed before it hits the limiter, and that's what prompted me to go back and fix my levels. So I traced my levels back, and it really was at the interface that I wasn't hitting it hot enough. So I was able to bring it back, and I'm only having to barely touch it with the limiter now to get the desired LUFS levels coming out. So that's the other part of this this morning experiment, so to speak, to see how everything is tied together now that I've changed that. So, but first I think I'm going to mess with the Galaxy a little bit. think the spaceship has landed. That all worked pretty good. I thought I might have to. One really nice thing about the Galaxy is you can adjust the bass and the treble. So if you've got a wash going with it, you can really clean up the bottom end. I was thinking I would have to do that a little bit with all the sound and sound looping I'm pushing through it, but no, it's kind of under control. Now, obviously, I've spent a lot of time with it, so I've already probably done a little bit of the cleanup. I can't remember. So the settings you're seeing here are just the top level settings. So the dwell's at minimum, and there's just a tiny little bit of the spring reverb in there. But you know, I might mess with the tape age a little bit. It gets a little too modulated because I have other modulation going on. I like the reverse delay in there still. Might tweak that some, but I think what I want to use, well, obviously I can use the triple delay for a lot of things, but I think this will be my, you know, kind of my workhorse or my you know, foundational delay, which should free me up to use this for doing all kinds of, obviously, the spacey background stuff. So yeah, very cool. The Nano Cortex just sounds, the IRs in it, I actually like the IRs and using IRs and the HXFX better, because I can do stereo and then I can flip one out of phase and do kind of that JC120 thing. I really like the spatial aspect of doing that, but as far as reasonably makes sense with this setup, you know, you want your IR directly after your amp. If I were to use the IR and the HXFX, which has worked okay, by the way, if I put it at the end of the signal chain in the HXFX, it's like having all my effects between the amp and the cabinet, which is strange. It works, but it's a little on the strange side. This way, everything's kind of in its respective place. For instance, you know, nothing goes digital in my signal until it hits the Nano Cortex. So everything hitting the amp is actually analog. That's what I'm aiming for. You see, it's not my preference, and you can do it obviously, but you see a lot of signal chains where by the time it hits the amp, it's already been converted to digital 2-3 times by having all your effects in front of the amp. That is not my preference. If you're going to use a tube amp, I would strongly suggest trying staying analog in front of it. If you can swing it. There's nothing wrong with digital. I'm not a tube amp snob. In fact, I would advocate you can make great sounds with whatever equipment you have. It may just take more work in some cases. Obviously, this setup is a ridiculous indulgence to see how good I can get it. And I think I do have it pretty good, but you got to try and stay analog as long as possible. That's another reason why I'm trying to do as much of this out of the box as possible. Really, again, the only thing I'm doing inside the box here is kind of my mastering chain. Again, because I'm not tracking, I'm recording live, improvised directly into this. So I can monitor it. I can monitor at the output of the. I can monitor at many different stages here to hear what's going on, and more so than the equipment, being able to monitor at the different stages and then set your gain at each of those stages. Gain staging is more important to your overall result than maybe the equipment at each of those stages, or being limited at where you can monitor the gain, because you know, and again, I'll use myself as an example here. I wasn't having any clipping issues, but what was happening is I was overutilizing my limited at the end to make up for the fact that I wasn't hitting the interface hard enough. So I traced back through each stage where I'm adding gain to the signal, and found that that's where the signal was too low. So I was able to bring that up, and that's what I was tweaking at the end, trying to get the left and right tweaked a little better. And it looks like the right side just still a little bit stronger than the left. Hang on a second. check, check, 1, 2, 3, test, test. That's the kind of thing that eats a hole in my brain when I can see the right side's a little stronger than the left, or vice versa. Because when you have all this panning and modulation going on, it's harder to see. But now that I'm just speaking, I can see that it's just a tiny bit more. All right, test, test, check, check. There we go. Nice and level. Okay, so there you go. There's my experiments for the day. A little insight to my thought process behind it. I do need to make one more video today for those of you, very few of you that seem to be following my instruction on the modes. I got to do the Phrygian video today, but that won't be out till next week. But yeah, this is fun. I've got a lot of good results here today, and I don't have a little space on my board that's going to eat a hole in my brain here. So excellent little experiment this morning. Let me know if you have any questions.